It's 3 in the morning. My shirt's still damp from tears I didn't have time to dry, and my brain's so foggy I can barely remember the drive home from the hospital. My mom's in her last days, cancer chewing away what little strength she's got left. I pull into my driveway expecting the world to leave me alone for just a minute, just enough time to catch my breath. Instead, what I get is a woman with the face of a porcelain doll and the attitude of a Border Patrol agent hacking my front gate in half with a pair of bolt cutters that probably cost more than my first car. Behind her, a white Escalade hums like a spaceship headlights blasting my lawn. 2 security guards, rental types uniforms still stiff from the package stand. They're shifting their feet like extras who missed rehearsal. And this woman, standing in her designer heels, turns to me with this plastic smile and says, "Marcus Hriss, you owe the HOA $3,200 in back fees. Pay now or we slap a lien on your house by Monday. No sympathy, no explanation, just threats." I stared at her like I'd stepped into the wrong universe. "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA." She grins. "Sweetie, every house on this street is ours now. Easy way or the hard way." I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry, so I walked inside, came back with a piece of paper, and for the first time all night, I was the one smiling, watching the color drain from her face. That was the only bright spot in a day that felt like an avalanche. But to really explain how I got here, how a man can go from sitting by his mother's deathbed to battling a suburban warlord at 3 a.m., let me roll the tape back a bit. My name's Marcus Hendricks, 58. 20 years in Army logistics, spent half my life making sure people had what they needed where and when they needed it, then decided I'd had enough of red tape and regulations and started over on a little patch of land left to me by my Uncle Ray. Been here 15 years now. 2.5 acres at the far end of Maple Ridge Drive, tucked away behind a wall of old oaks and a bridge nobody crosses by accident. Uncle Ray was the type who built things to last, paid cash for everything, and wouldn't trust a politician to tell him the day of the week. I still wake up some mornings to the smell of sawdust and coffee, and for a while, life was good. Workshop a guest cabin for buddies down on their luck, neighbors who nod instead of waving. Then Delilah Whitmore showed up, and life started feeling like a TV show you can't turn off. Picture everything that's wrong with suburbia packed into one perfectly polished woman. Botox Chanel sunglasses, running the local HOA like she's auditioning for a role as queen of the gated community. She's been serving for 8 years, which really means she's been terrorizing people for 8 years. Drives around in her Escalade handing out violations and acting like property values are a higher calling than human decency. Here's the hilarious part. My property isn't even part of her little kingdom. You have to cross a creek to get here. Uncle Ray designed it that way, his own little sovereign nation, free from nosy neighbors and committees. But that never stopped Delilah. She marched right up, waving a clipboard, telling me my workshop is an unpermitted commercial structure, my cabin a fire hazard, my storage unsightly. Every time she opens her mouth, the number gets bigger. $3,200. Wait, no, now it's $4,200. Fees and penalties, she says, flipping through a stack of violations that smell like fresh toner. I ask her to show me where it says I'm in her HOA. She claims Uncle Ray signed up in 1994, all properly filed with the county. My blood goes cold. Ray would have set himself on fire before signing anything with these people. We ensure the right kind of people live in our neighborhood, she says. And there it is, the dog whistle. The one I've heard my whole life from folks who think the right kind means people who look, act, and earn just like them. Nothing she said made sense, but it was late and I just watched my mom slip further away. "I need time to research this," I said. And she gave me her card dripping with that sweet, suffocating perfume and reminded me, "Payment due Friday. Lien proceedings start Monday." Her Escalade vanished in a cloud of dust, and I realized I'd just become the latest target for a bully with too much time and not enough conscience. Next morning, I drive down to the county clerk's office. If you've ever set foot in one, you know the smell, paperwork, and coffee older than the computers. I ask for the deed. The woman at the desk is probably 2 years from retirement and could spot a property scam before breakfast. She prints the file, hands it to me. Not a word about an HOA. Not one. But that's not even the best part. I ask for the HOA's formation documents. Turns out Maple Ridge HOA didn't exist until 1991. Ray built his house in 1987. You can't rewrite history to suit your power trip. I get back home, and who's there? Delilah Escalade gleaming this time, with a certified enforcement officer, translation, a teenager drowning in a polyester security outfit. We're here for a mandatory compliance inspection. She's snapping photos of my place, pointing at my workshop, the fence, the garden gnomes. $500 inspection fee, she says, like she's reading from a script. I tell her again she has zero authority here. She ignores me, so I call the county planning office. Takes them 3 minutes to confirm everything's above board, permitted, and grandfathered in since '87. And then I notice Delilah's gesturing at her designer fence, her pride and joy, like she's showing off a trophy. That's when I remember Uncle Ray's old survey. I dig it out, trace the lines, and realize my property line actually stretches 20 feet past where she thinks it does, including 15 feet of her premium fence. So not only is she trespassing, she's been paying taxes on my land. That's when things started turning in my favor. I call a surveyor, make it official, and send Delilah a certified letter. Move your fence within 30 days, or I'll remove it myself. Her response comes quick and furious. Next morning, city code enforcement is in my driveway with a stack of anonymous complaints, noise violations, fire hazards, commercial activity. Rodriguez, the officer, is sharp-nosed as setup when he sees one. I walk him through my shop. He actually pauses to admire my vintage drill press, same as his dad used to have. When he leaves my records spotless, and I've got a new friend who understands what community actually means, that's when I start digging into Delilah's background. Real estate license suspended 2 years ago. Her husband's mortgage company under investigation for fraud. They owe back taxes. Suddenly, all this obsession over HOA fees makes sense. She calls a neighborhood meeting. Community center, folding chairs, burnt coffee. She's got slides with aerial photos of my property, red circles around every shed, every woodpile. She actually circles my American flag in red like it's contraband. Mrs. Patterson, 87, and tough as nails, stands up. Marcus fixed my steps for free. Delilah snaps. Unlicensed work lowers our standards. But the crowd isn't buying it. I stand up, wave the survey report. Before we talk standards, maybe move your illegal fence off my land. Silence, then murmurs. Delilah looks ready to burst. Next morning, Deputy Collins shows up with a restraining order. Delilah claims I threatened her at the meeting. The paperwork is laughable but legal. Now I can't talk to the HOA while she ramps up the attacks not just on me, but everyone who stood up for me. Jake gets a violation for his basketball hoop, Tom for his service dog, Mrs. Patterson for her garden. Anyone who speaks up is next. But Mrs. Patterson, she's sharper than a tack. She lets me in on a little secret. The Whitmores are months behind on their mortgage repo man, sniffing around the Escalade. That explains the desperation. I call Uncle Ray's old attorney, Frank Morrison. He remembers something about HOA protection in the original deed. Sure enough, Ray had the foresight to negotiate a property exclusion agreement. His land can never be part of any HOA. Even better, there's a $10,000 penalty for every attempt to enforce HOA rules on it. Add up every violation, notice, threat, and harassment, 23 in total. That's $230,000 in penalties plus legal fees. Meanwhile, my insurance adjuster, Greg, tells me my workshop break-in matches a pattern 12 other cases, all starting with HOA harassment and ending in theft or vandalism. Every single one points back to Delilah and her crew. At the next HOA meeting, the community center's packed. Undercover FBI in the crowd. Delilah's waving around forged documents swearing I'm in the HOA. I pull up the real exclusion agreement, notarized and on the big screen for everyone to see. I play a recording of her husband offering me hush money and threatening retaliation. Agent Walsh flashes her badge. Delilah and her husband get cuffed and marched out, Mrs. Patterson clapping the whole way. 6 months later, the dust has settled. My workshop's become a haven. Veterans come by to build things. Neighbors drop off coffee and pie. Tom's service dog naps in the sun. The Whitmore house, Mrs. Patterson bought it at auction for pennies on the dollar. The HOA imploded, new state laws were passed, and my settlement funded scholarships for veterans' families and expanded our workshop program. But the real lesson: bullies win until they don't. Justice isn't always fast, and sometimes it needs a little help from folks who know their rights and stand their ground. The paperwork matters, but it's the people standing behind you that really tip the scales. So now whenever the sawdust settles, I think of Uncle Ray, how he built everything to last and taught me to fight for what's right. That's the only legacy worth leaving. But here's the thing, I keep turning over in my mind how many Delilahs are out there running neighborhoods like little kingdoms, crushing the people who can't fight back. Where's the line between protecting property values and abusing power? How do you know when enough is enough? Drop your own HOA horror stories in the comments. Share where you're from, what you've seen, what you did. Because the more we talk about this stuff, the less room there is for people like Delilah to hide. And if you ever stood up to a bully, especially when you could have just kept your head down, just know you've already done more for justice than most people ever will. Next week, I'll tell you about the landlord who tried to evict a military family during deployment and the comeback that left him bankrupt and begging for mercy. Hit that subscribe button and stick around. Justice, as it turns out, makes for some pretty good company.